The world may congratulate you for the exact habits that are destroying you. People will praise you for never saying no, admire you for working without rest, depend on you because you never complain, and call you strong because you suffer quietly. They will celebrate your discipline while your mind loses its peace, your body loses its energy, and your heart loses the desire to continue. Then, when you finally collapse, the same world will ask why you did not take better care of yourself. This is the trap. You can receive admiration for abandoning yourself. Buddhism teaches that applause is not proof that you are walking the right path. Sometimes everyone benefits from your strength except you. And sometimes healing begins the moment you disappoint the people who were comfortable with your exhaustion. 1. Your body often speaks before your mind is ready to listen. There was once a monk who carried a heavy container of water up a mountain every morning. One day, he noticed a small crack in the container, but he ignored it because he believed he was too busy to stop and repair it. At first, only a few drops escaped, so the problem did not seem serious. But every day, the crack became larger. More water was lost. The container became weaker, and eventually it broke completely. Your body often behaves in the same way. It gives you small warnings before you reach complete exhaustion. These warnings may appear as poor sleep, headaches, low energy, irritability, lack of focus, emotional numbness, or the feeling that even simple tasks are becoming difficult. You may also lose interest in things you once enjoyed, or feel tired even after resting. Instead of listening to these signs, you may try to hide them with caffeine, social media, constant work, or self-criticism. You tell yourself to push harder and promise that you will rest after one more task, one more deadline, or one more difficult week. But one difficult week can easily become a difficult month, and after some time, exhaustion begins to feel normal. Buddhist awareness teaches us to pay attention to the body because the body always lives in the present moment. It does not care about your plans, deadlines, or the image you are trying to show others. It simply tells you the truth about how much pressure you are carrying. 2. Rest without guilt is a form of self-compassion. Many people stop working, but they never truly rest. Their body may be lying down, but their mind continues thinking about unfinished tasks, unanswered messages, future problems, and everything they believe they should be doing. Even during a quiet moment, they feel guilty and tell themselves that they are wasting time. This kind of rest cannot fully restore you because your body is still receiving the message that it is not safe to relax. You may take a day off, but instead of feeling peaceful, you spend the day worrying about falling behind. You compare yourself with people who appear productive and begin believing that needing rest means you are lazy or undisciplined. Buddhism teaches compassion toward all living beings, and that compassion must also include you. You would not look at an exhausted friend and shame them for needing sleep. You would not tell a wounded person to ignore their pain and work harder. Yet many people speak to themselves with a level of cruelty they would never use toward someone they love. Self-compassion does not mean abandoning your responsibilities or giving up whenever life becomes difficult. It means understanding your limits and treating yourself with patience while you recover. You can still care about your goals without punishing yourself. You can remain responsible while accepting that your energy is not unlimited. When you rest, allow yourself to rest without turning it into another reason for guilt. You do not have to solve every problem today, and every quiet moment does not need to produce something useful. Sometimes sitting peacefully, sleeping properly, or stepping away from pressure is exactly what your mind and body need. 3. You do not have to earn the right to slow down. Many people believe they are only allowed to rest after everything is finished. They tell themselves that they can relax after completing one more task, solving one more problem, helping one more person, or reaching one more goal. But life rarely becomes completely finished. There will always be another responsibility waiting, another message to answer, another problem to solve, or another expectation to meet. When you keep postponing rest until everything is done, rest may never come. You may have learned from an early age that being busy makes you valuable. Perhaps people praised you when you worked hard, remained useful, achieved something, or took care of everyone around you. Maybe you received love and attention only when you behaved well, stayed strong, or ignored your own needs. Slowly, you began to believe that your worth depended on what you could provide. Now, whenever you stop working, you feel uncomfortable because you no longer know how to feel valuable without being productive. This is why many tired people cannot relax even when they finally get the chance. Their body may be sitting still, but their mind continues searching for something useful to do. They feel guilty when they sleep longer, take a quiet afternoon, refuse an invitation, or leave a task unfinished. They believe they must first prove that they have worked hard enough before they are allowed to care for themselves. Buddhism teaches that your worth does not come from constant achievement. You are not valuable only when you are successful, helpful, strong, or productive. Your life has value even during the moments when you are resting, confused, healing, or doing nothing important. You do not need to prove that you deserve peace. You do not need to exhaust yourself before you are allowed to slow down. Look at nature. A tree does not apologize when it loses its leaves. The moon does not feel ashamed when part of it becomes hidden. A river does not believe it has failed when its movement becomes slower. Nature understands that rest, stillness, and change are necessary parts of life. Human beings are also part of nature, yet we often demand more from ourselves than nature demands from anything else. You may believe that taking a break means you are falling behind, but sometimes slowing down is what prevents you from losing yourself completely. When you continue working while emotionally and physically empty, the quality of everything begins to suffer. Your patience becomes shorter, your mind becomes less clear, and even the people you love may begin to feel like another responsibility. Rest allows you to return with more attention, balance, and kindness. You are allowed to slow down before your body forces you to stop. You do not need to wait until you become sick, emotionally numb, or completely burned out. You are allowed to notice the early signs of exhaustion and respond with wisdom. Prevention is not weakness. Listening to yourself before reaching your breaking point is a form of maturity. Sometimes other people may not understand your need for rest. They may call you selfish, lazy, distant, or unmotivated, because they are used to having unlimited access to your time and energy. They may become disappointed when you stop saying yes to every request. But another person's disappointment does not automatically mean you are doing something wrong. Some people benefit from your lack of boundaries. They become comfortable with you always being available, always helping, and always putting your needs last. When you finally begin protecting your energy, they may resist the change because your exhaustion was convenient for them. Do not allow their reaction to convince you that caring for yourself is wrong. Buddhism teaches balance. Compassion does not mean giving everything until nothing remains inside you. True compassion includes wisdom. You can care about others without abandoning yourself. You can support someone without carrying their entire life. You can be kind without saying yes to every demand. You can love people deeply while still protecting the peace of your own mind. You do not need permission to rest. You do not need someone to agree that you are tired enough. Other people may not see the emotional battles you are fighting, the pressure inside your mind, or the energy it takes to continue appearing strong. They only see your actions, but you are the one living inside your body. You are the one who knows how heavy everything has become. There may also be times when you feel guilty because other people appear to be working harder than you. You see someone waking up earlier, achieving more, or handling greater responsibilities, and you begin judging your own limits. But comparison ignores the truth that every person is carrying a different body, history, level of support, and emotional burden. Someone else's capacity does not determine yours. A person carrying a light bag can walk farther than someone carrying a hidden weight. From the outside, both people may look the same, but their experience is completely different. You may be carrying grief, anxiety, disappointment, family pressure, financial worry, or years of emotional exhaustion that nobody else can see. You do not need to compare your pace with people who are not carrying your burden. Slowing down does not mean giving up on your life. It means choosing to continue in a healthier way. There is a difference between quitting and pausing. Quitting says, "I no longer care." Pausing says, "I care enough to protect my strength so I can continue." Sometimes a pause is not the end of progress. It is what makes future progress possible. You may fear that if you stop, you will lose momentum. But forcing yourself when you are deeply tired can create resentment toward your own goals. Work that once inspired you may begin to feel like punishment. People you once loved helping may start to feel like burdens. Even your dreams may become painful because you have connected them with constant pressure. Rest helps separate your purpose from your exhaustion. It reminds you that your goals are not supposed to destroy you. A meaningful life should include effort, discipline, and responsibility, but it should also include silence, sleep, joy, and moments when nothing is demanded from you. Balance is not laziness. Balance is what keeps effort from becoming suffering. Begin by giving yourself small moments of permission. You do not need to wait for a long vacation or a perfect day. You can put your phone away for an hour, sit quietly without solving anything, go to sleep earlier, decline one unnecessary request, or leave a task until tomorrow. These small choices teach your nervous system that rest is safe and that your worth does not disappear when you stop performing. When guilt appears, do not immediately obey it. Observe it. Ask yourself where the guilt came from. Is it truly telling you that you have done something wrong, or is it simply repeating an old belief that you must always be useful? Not every guilty feeling is proof of wrongdoing. Sometimes guilt appears because you are finally breaking a harmful pattern. You are not here only to work, achieve, serve, and survive. You are also here to breathe, notice the sky, enjoy quiet moments, feel love, experience peace, and simply be alive. A life filled with accomplishment but empty of rest can still become a painful life. Success means very little if you destroy your body and mind while chasing it. Allow yourself to slow down without creating a long explanation for everyone. You do not always need to defend your need for space. A simple, "I need to rest," is enough. You are not required to present evidence of your exhaustion before protecting yourself. Your limits are real, even when other people cannot see them. You do not have to reach complete collapse before your tiredness becomes valid. You do not have to finish everything before you deserve peace. You do not have to earn the right to care for your own body and mind. Rest is not a reward given only to those who have suffered enough. It is a basic need that keeps you human, balanced, and alive. The next time you feel guilty for slowing down, remember that a bow must sometimes be loosened, or it will lose its strength. A field must sometimes remain empty, or the soil will become weak. A person must sometimes stop carrying the world, or they will forget how to carry themselves. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to protect your energy before it disappears. Your worth remains with you, even when you are not working, helping, achieving, or proving anything. You do not need to earn the right to slow down because you were always worthy of rest. 4. Forcing yourself can delay the healing you are seeking. Imagine that you have injured your leg, but instead of resting, you continue walking on it every day because you want to prove that you are strong. You refuse support, ignore the pain, and tell yourself that stopping would make you weak. At first, you may still be able to move, but every step puts more pressure on the injury. The wound becomes deeper, the pain becomes stronger, and the healing process takes much longer than it should have. Emotional pain often works in the same way. When you experience disappointment, betrayal, grief, stress, rejection, or burnout, your mind and heart need time to understand what happened. But many people do not give themselves that time. They return to work, responsibilities, relationships, and daily pressure before they have truly recovered. They act normal, smile for others, and continue moving as though nothing has changed. From the outside, this may look like strength. People may praise you for being brave, disciplined, or emotionally strong. They may admire how quickly you return to your normal routine. But inside, the pain may still be active. You may still be carrying anger, sadness, fear, or confusion that you have never fully faced. Sometimes you force yourself to keep going because stopping feels dangerous. When life becomes quiet, painful thoughts begin to rise. Memories return, emotions become stronger, and questions you have been avoiding appear in your mind. Staying busy can feel easier than sitting with these feelings. You may fill every hour with work, entertainment, social media, conversations, or responsibilities because you do not want to feel what is happening inside you. You tell yourself that you are being productive, but part of you may actually be running away from pain. The problem is that pain does not disappear simply because you avoid looking at it. Unprocessed pain often waits beneath the surface. It may return later as anger, anxiety, poor sleep, emotional numbness, overthinking, or sudden sadness. You may become irritated over small things without understanding why. You may feel tired even after sleeping because your mind is still carrying emotions that have never been released. Buddhism teaches that healing requires awareness. Awareness means being willing to see what is present without immediately escaping, judging, or fighting it. It means admitting that something hurt you instead of pretending that you should already be over it. It means allowing yourself to feel sadness without believing that sadness has made you weak. Many people confuse healing with forgetting. They believe they are healed when they no longer talk about what happened, when they stop crying, or when they return to their normal routine. But silence does not always mean peace. Sometimes, silence means that you have pushed the pain so deeply inside that you no longer know how to express it. Real healing does not mean that the past disappears. It means the past no longer controls your emotions, decisions, and sense of worth. You may still remember what happened, but the memory does not have the same power over you. You can think about it without feeling completely broken again. This process cannot be rushed. You cannot force yourself to heal according to a schedule. You cannot demand that your heart recover simply because enough days have passed. Some wounds require more time because they damaged your trust, confidence, or understanding of yourself. You may feel frustrated and ask why you are still affected. You may compare yourself with other people who seem to recover quickly and begin judging your own progress. But every person processes pain differently. The depth of a wound cannot always be measured by what others can see. A small event may deeply affect someone because it connects with older pain. A harsh comment may reopen years of insecurity. A rejection may remind someone of being abandoned. A betrayal may damage not only one relationship, but also the ability to trust future relationships. This is why healing is rarely simple. You are not only recovering from one moment, you may also be recovering from everything that moment awakened inside you. Forcing yourself to move on without understanding these deeper wounds can make the pain return in new forms. Buddhism teaches patience because all things change according to causes and conditions. A seed does not grow because you keep digging it up to check its progress. It needs soil, water, sunlight, and time. In the same way, your healing needs safety, honesty, rest, and patience. Constantly asking, "Why am I not healed yet?" can become another form of pressure. It tells your mind that your current condition is unacceptable. Instead of creating peace, this pressure adds shame to the pain you are already carrying. Try asking a gentler question. Ask, what part of me still needs care? This question does not attack you, it invites understanding. It helps you see that healing is not a battle against yourself, but a process of returning to yourself. Sometimes healing requires rest, but sometimes it also requires truth. You may need to admit that a relationship was unhealthy, that a situation damaged you, or that you stayed too long in a place that drained you. You may need to stop defending people who repeatedly hurt you. It can be difficult to accept these truths, because they may change the way you see your past. You may realize that something you called love was actually control, that something you called loyalty was self-abandonment, or that something you called strength was simply survival. These realizations can be painful, but they are also necessary. Healing begins when you stop lying to yourself about what happened. You cannot recover from a wound that you continue pretending does not exist. There may also be emotions that you judge as unacceptable. You may feel angry and believe that anger makes you a bad person. You may feel jealous, resentful, frightened, or deeply disappointed. Because these emotions do not match the calm image you want to have, you may try to suppress them. Buddhism does not ask you to pretend that difficult emotions are not present. It teaches you to observe them without becoming controlled by them. You can notice anger without acting cruelly. You can feel sadness without deciding that your life is hopeless. You can experience fear without allowing fear to make every decision. Emotions become more dangerous when they are denied. When you acknowledge them, they become easier to understand. You can begin asking what they are trying to show you. Anger may be showing you that a boundary was crossed. Sadness may be showing you that something mattered deeply. Fear may be showing you where you need safety or support. You do not need to obey every emotion, but you should listen to what it is revealing. Your emotions are not always enemies. Sometimes they are messages from parts of you that have been ignored for too long. Forcing yourself to stay positive can also delay healing. Positive thinking can be helpful, but it becomes harmful when it is used to silence real pain. Telling yourself that everything happens for a reason does not automatically remove grief. Repeating hopeful words does not mean you have processed what happened. You are allowed to be grateful and still feel tired. You can believe that life will improve while also admitting that the present moment is difficult. Hope and pain can exist together. Healing does not require you to choose one and deny the other. Some people rush their healing because they want to make others comfortable. Friends or relatives may become impatient with your sadness. They may tell you to move on, forget about it, or stop thinking so much. They may mean well, but their discomfort does not determine your healing timeline. You do not have to pretend to be fine simply because other people do not know how to sit with your pain. You are not responsible for making your suffering easier for others to witness. Honest healing is more important than appearing strong. However, healing also does not mean remaining trapped in pain forever. There is a difference between allowing yourself to feel and repeatedly feeding the wound. Awareness helps you recognize this difference. Feeling means acknowledging what happened, learning from it, and allowing emotions to move through you. Feeding the wound means replaying the same story endlessly and using it to confirm that you will never recover. Buddhist teachings encourage us to hold pain with awareness, but not build our entire identity around it. You were hurt, but you are not only a hurt person. You experienced betrayal, but betrayal does not have to define every future relationship. You lost something important, but your life still contains possibilities that have not yet appeared. Healing means making space for pain without giving it complete control over your future. It means honoring what happened while also slowly opening yourself to life again. This may happen through small steps. You may begin sleeping better, spending time in silence, writing your thoughts, speaking honestly with someone you trust, or reducing contact with people who drain you. These actions may appear simple, but they send an important message to your mind. You are no longer abandoning yourself. Many people believe healing must look dramatic. They expect one powerful realization that changes everything. But healing is often quiet. It happens when you choose not to answer a disrespectful message, when you stop blaming yourself for someone else's behavior, or when you allow yourself to rest without guilt. Healing happens when you notice that a painful memory no longer controls your entire day. It happens when you can set a boundary without explaining it for hours. It happens when you stop searching for an apology from someone who may never understand the harm they caused. You may not notice your progress because you are looking for complete transformation, but small changes matter. The fact that you pause before reacting is progress. The fact that you recognize an unhealthy pattern is progress. The fact that you now speak to yourself with more patience is progress. Do not force yourself to become the old version of you again. Sometimes healing does not return you to who you were before the pain. Sometimes it creates a wiser, more aware, and more compassionate version of you. The person you were before may have ignored boundaries, trusted too quickly, or carried everything alone. Healing may teach you to live differently. It may teach you to protect your peace, ask for help, and recognize when something is no longer healthy. This change can feel uncomfortable because you may miss the person you once were. But growth often requires releasing old ways of living. You are not failing because you have changed. You are learning how to survive without continuing the habits that harmed you. You may also need to accept that some healing cannot happen in the same environment that caused the wound. If a place, relationship, or situation continues damaging you, rest alone may not be enough. You may need distance, boundaries, or a completely different direction. A plant cannot recover if it remains in poisoned soil. It needs a healthier environment. In the same way, you cannot expect your nervous system to become peaceful while constantly returning to people and situations that keep you in fear. Leaving or creating distance is not always easy. You may feel guilty, lonely, or uncertain, but remaining in harm simply because it is familiar is not healing. Sometimes healing begins when you stop returning to the source of your pain. Buddhist compassion includes compassion for yourself. It does not require you to tolerate endless disrespect. Forgiveness does not mean giving someone unlimited access to your life. You can release hatred while still choosing distance. The path of healing asks you to become honest about what supports your peace and what destroys it. It asks you to stop calling suffering normal simply because you have lived with it for a long time. There may be days when you feel strong and days when the pain returns. This does not mean you have failed. Healing is not always a straight line. A familiar place, song, conversation, or memory may bring emotions back unexpectedly. When this happens, do not panic and tell yourself that all your progress is gone. A difficult day does not erase the healing that has already happened. It only means that another layer of emotion is asking to be understood. Treat these moments with patience. Breathe, observe, and remind yourself that feelings rise and pass. You do not have to become the emotion. You can experience sadness without believing that sadness will remain forever. Forcing yourself to heal quickly often comes from fear. You fear that if you slow down, you will become stuck. But healing and being stuck are not the same. Healing is active, even when it looks quiet. Your mind may be processing, releasing, and rebuilding trust beneath the surface. A field may look empty during winter, but important changes are happening below the ground. In the same way, your quiet season may not look productive to others, but it may be rebuilding parts of you that constant movement had damaged. Trust this process. Give yourself the conditions that healing needs. Reduce unnecessary pressure. Listen to your body. Speak honestly about your feelings, and stop demanding immediate results. You cannot shame yourself into peace. You cannot rush yourself into wholeness. You cannot punish a wound until it disappears. Healing begins when you stop fighting the fact that you were hurt and start giving yourself what the hurt part of you truly needs. Let yourself move slowly. Let yourself have difficult days. Let yourself rest without explaining everything. You are not weak, because healing takes time. You are human, and human hearts do not recover through force. The goal is not to return to life as quickly as possible while carrying the same unhealed pain. The goal is to return with greater awareness, stronger boundaries, deeper compassion, and a clearer understanding of what you will no longer accept. Do not walk on the wound simply to prove that you can. Stop, care for it, and give it time. When healing is respected, you will move forward with strength that is real, peaceful, and no longer built on self-punishment. 5. Release the need to keep up with everyone. There was once a young monk who became frustrated because another student seemed to be progressing faster than him. The other student could meditate for longer periods, remember teachings more quickly, and remain calm during difficult situations. The young monk began comparing himself every day. Instead of focusing on his own practice, he watched the other student and quietly judged himself. He started waking up earlier, sleeping less, eating quickly, and forcing himself to meditate for many hours without rest. He believed that if he worked harder than everyone else, he would finally feel worthy. But after some time, his mind became more restless, his body became weak, and his concentration became worse. The teacher noticed what was happening and asked him, "What happens when the string of an instrument is pulled too tightly?" The monk replied, "It breaks." The teacher then asked, "What happens when it is too loose?" The monk answered, "It cannot produce music." The teacher smiled and said, "Then wisdom is not found in forcing or avoiding. Wisdom is found in discovering the right tension for your own life." Many people are exhausted because they are not living according to their own capacity. They are living according to what they see other people doing. They look at someone else's success, discipline, energy, appearance, income, relationship, or lifestyle, and begin believing that they should be at the same place. You may compare your beginning with someone else's 10th year. You may compare your private struggles with someone else's public achievements. You may see a small part of their life and use it as proof that you are failing, but you do not know the full conditions behind another person's progress. You do not know how much support they have, what opportunities were available to them, what responsibilities they do not carry, or what difficulties they hide from the world. Two people may appear to be walking on the same road, but one may be carrying a light bag while the other carries a heavy weight. From a distance, it may seem that one person is stronger or more disciplined because they are moving faster, but speed does not reveal everything. You may be carrying grief, financial pressure, family responsibilities, emotional exhaustion, health problems, self-doubt, or years of pain that nobody else can see. Comparing your pace with someone who is not carrying the same burden is unfair to you. Buddhism teaches that every condition arises from different causes. A flower growing in sunlight will not bloom at the same speed as a flower growing in the shade. This does not mean the second flower is lazy or broken. It simply means its conditions are different. Your life also has its own conditions. Your journey has been shaped by your experiences, responsibilities, losses, opportunities, fears, and lessons. Therefore, your path cannot be measured by another person's timeline. Comparison pulls your attention away from your own life. Instead of asking what you truly need, you begin asking what other people are doing. Instead of listening to your body, you force yourself to match their energy. Instead of honoring your direction, you become obsessed with their speed. This creates suffering because you stop living your own life and begin chasing an image of someone else's life. Even when you make progress, it does not feel satisfying because your eyes remain focused on the person ahead of you. There will always be someone who appears more successful, more attractive, more confident, more productive, or more peaceful. If your happiness depends on being ahead of everyone, you will never feel secure. The moment you reach one level, you will notice someone at the next level. The moment you achieve one goal, Comparison will show you another person who has achieved more. This is why comparison creates an endless hunger that achievement alone cannot satisfy. Buddhism teaches contentment, but contentment does not mean giving up on growth. It means appreciating where you are while continuing to move with awareness. You can desire improvement without hating your current self. You can have goals without turning another person's progress into a weapon against yourself. You can learn from successful people without believing that their life proves something is wrong with yours. There is a difference between inspiration and comparison. Inspiration says, "Their progress shows me what may be possible." Comparison says, "Their progress proves that I am not enough." One gives you energy, while the other takes your energy away. When you notice someone doing well, allow their success to encourage you without allowing it to reduce your worth. Their light does not remove yours. Another person's achievement does not mean there is less possibility available for you. The sun does not become jealous when the moon shines, and one tree does not feel ashamed because another tree is taller. Nature does not waste energy comparing different forms of growth. Each living thing follows its own conditions and timing. Human beings, however, are constantly shown the lives of others. Through social media, you may see hundreds of achievements in a single day. You see people buying homes, starting businesses, traveling, improving their bodies, finding relationships, and reaching goals. What you do not see are the ordinary days, disappointments, arguments, failures, debts, fears, and loneliness behind the images. You are often comparing your complete reality with someone else's carefully selected moments. This comparison can make a peaceful life feel unsuccessful. You may have food, shelter, a few loving people, and a healthy body, yet you feel behind because someone online appears to have more. Your mind begins turning blessings into disappointments. Instead of enjoying what you have, you focus on what is missing. Instead of recognizing your growth, you criticize yourself for not growing faster. Buddhist awareness asks you to return to the present moment. In the present moment, you do not need to defeat another person's timeline. You only need to take the next honest step available to you. You do not need to solve your entire future today. You do not need to become the best person in the room. You only need to move with enough awareness that your choices do not destroy your peace. Sometimes, moving slowly is the wisest form of progress. A person who rushes may reach a destination quickly, but discover that it was never the right destination. Another person may move slowly, observe carefully, and choose a path that truly matches their values. Speed is not the same as direction. You can move very quickly and still become lost. You can move slowly and still be moving toward a meaningful life. Many people force themselves because they fear being left behind. They imagine life as a race with limited rewards. They believe that if someone else succeeds first, their own chance disappears. But life is not one straight road where everyone must arrive at the same place by the same age. Different people are meant to learn different lessons, create different lives, and experience different seasons. Some people find success early and lose themselves later. Some struggle for years and build something stable with patience. Some find love when they are young, while others meet the right person much later. Some discover their purpose immediately, while others need many wrong paths before understanding what truly matters. There is no single correct timeline for becoming who you are meant to become. Society may create expectations about when you should study, earn money, marry, buy a home, become successful, or understand your purpose. But life does not always follow these expectations. When your life looks different, you may feel embarrassed or afraid. You may believe that everyone is moving forward while you are standing still. But what looks like stillness may actually be preparation. A seed beneath the soil appears to be doing nothing. Nobody can see its roots developing or its structure forming. Yet important work is happening in darkness before anything appears above the ground. Your quiet season may be developing strength, maturity, self-awareness, discipline, and wisdom that cannot be seen immediately. Do not call yourself unsuccessful simply because your progress is not yet visible. You may also be healing from things that other people never experienced. Healing takes energy. Learning to trust again takes energy. Rebuilding confidence takes energy. Breaking unhealthy patterns takes energy. You may not be reaching external goals as quickly because much of your energy is being used to repair your inner world. This work may not receive praise, money, or public attention, but it can change the entire direction of your life. Someone may appear ahead of you financially while remaining emotionally trapped. Someone may have an impressive career but no peace. Someone may be surrounded by people but feel deeply alone. Another person may appear successful while secretly wishing they had your freedom, health, or simplicity. You cannot judge the value of a life only by what is visible. Buddhism teaches that external success does not automatically create inner peace. A person can own many things and still be controlled by fear, desire, and comparison. Do not destroy your peace while trying to create a life that looks successful to others. A life that receives admiration but feels empty inside is not true success. Ask yourself what kind of life you actually want. Do you want constant competition, exhaustion, and approval, or do you want balance, meaningful work, healthy relationships, and a peaceful mind? The answer may be different from what society expects. Your path may require moving more slowly, choosing less money with more peace, leaving a respected position, or building a quiet life that others do not understand. You do not have to make your life impressive to make it meaningful. The need to keep up often comes from fear of judgment. You may worry about what relatives, friends, co-workers, or strangers will think if your progress is slow. You may feel pressured to show results because you do not want people to see you as unsuccessful. But people will always create opinions. Even when you achieve something, some will say it was not enough. If you live only to avoid judgment, you will spend your entire life being controlled by minds that do not have to live with your choices. The people judging your pace will not carry your exhaustion. They will not repair your health if you collapse. They will not restore the years you lose by chasing goals that never belonged to you. Therefore, you must learn to protect your own rhythm. This does not mean becoming careless or avoiding effort. It means working with awareness instead of fear. Healthy discipline asks, what action will support my future? Fearful pressure asks, what must I do so nobody thinks I am falling behind? These questions may lead to very different lives. One builds progress from self-respect, while the other builds progress from shame. Achievement created through shame may look impressive, but it often brings no satisfaction because the inner belief of not being enough remains unchanged. You may reach the goal and immediately search for another because you were never truly chasing the goal. You were chasing the feeling of finally being worthy. But worth cannot be permanently earned through achievement. If you do not believe you are enough before success, success may not convince you. It may only create a temporary feeling of relief before comparison begins again. Buddhism teaches us to observe desire. Desire says that happiness is always somewhere else, after the promotion, after the money, after the relationship, after the weight loss, or after the recognition. When you constantly chase the future, you miss the life already happening around you. You may eventually reach your goal and realize that you sacrificed your health, relationships, and peace to arrive there. This does not mean you should stop working toward a better life. It means you should not abandon the present moment while building the future. You can work hard and still rest. You can grow and still appreciate yourself today. You can take one meaningful step without demanding that you complete the entire journey immediately. Slow progress is still progress when it is sustainable. A person who runs without rest may move farther today, but be unable to continue tomorrow. A person who walks steadily may seem slower, but eventually travel much farther. Sustainable progress respects your body, mind, and circumstances. It allows you to continue without turning every goal into a source of suffering. There may be days when you have great energy and can accomplish many things. There may also be days when your greatest achievement is taking care of yourself and completing one necessary task. Both kinds of days are part of life. You do not need to punish yourself because your energy changes. Human beings are not designed to perform at the same level every day. Your body responds to sleep, stress, emotions, hormones, health, environment, and countless other conditions. Expecting identical performance every day is unrealistic and cruel. Learn to adjust your effort without attacking your character. A low-energy day does not mean you have become lazy. A difficult week does not erase your discipline. Needing rest does not mean you have lost your ambition. Sometimes the wisest choice is to reduce the load. If you cannot complete 10 tasks, complete 2 important ones. If you cannot move quickly, move carefully. If you cannot solve everything, focus on what is within your control. This is the Buddhist middle path. It avoids both extreme pressure and complete neglect. It teaches balance between effort and rest, discipline and compassion, action and stillness. The middle path is not always dramatic. It may look like going to bed instead of working late, refusing one unnecessary responsibility, or taking a quiet morning before making an important decision. These choices may seem small, but they protect your long-term strength. The goal is not to prove how much pain you can tolerate. The goal is to create a life you can continue living without losing yourself. You may also need to release competition with your past self. Sometimes you compare who you are today with a version of yourself who had more energy, fewer responsibilities, better health, or different circumstances. You remember a time when you could work longer, recover faster, or remain motivated more easily. Then you judge yourself because you cannot perform the same way now. But you are not living under the same conditions. Your life has changed, and wisdom means responding to the person you are today instead of demanding that you return to an older version of yourself. Perhaps you have been through experiences that changed your nervous system, priorities, or capacity. You may need a new rhythm. This is not failure, it is adaptation. A river changes its direction when the land changes. It does not insist on flowing through a mountain simply because that was its original path. It adjusts and continues. You are allowed to adjust too. You may need new goals, new habits, new boundaries, or a slower schedule. Continuing in a different way is still continuing. Do not let pride convince you that slowing down is weakness. Sometimes pride says, "I should be able to handle everything alone." It makes you refuse help and hide your exhaustion. But there is wisdom in recognizing your limits. Asking for support does not reduce your strength. It protects your strength from being completely exhausted. Even monks live in communities. They share responsibilities, learn from teachers, and support one another. Buddhism does not teach that you must carry every burden alone. It teaches interdependence and reminds us that all beings rely on countless forms of support. You eat food grown by others, use roads built by others, learn words taught by others, and live through systems created by people you may never meet. No one is completely independent. Therefore, do not feel ashamed when you need help. Let someone listen. Allow someone to share a responsibility. Give people the opportunity to support you instead of always being the one who gives. You may have become known as the strong person, the helpful person, or the person who never complains. This identity can become another prison. You may fear that if you admit tiredness, people will see you differently. But true strength is not pretending you have no limits. True strength is being honest enough to respect them. The more you hide your exhaustion, the more others may assume that you can continue carrying everything. Sometimes you must teach people how to treat you by clearly communicating what you can and cannot do. You do not need to apologize for having limits. Limits are part of being human. Even the strongest body needs sleep, and even the calmest mind needs moments of silence. Release the idea that everyone must understand your pace. Some people will not understand because they value speed more than well-being. Some may judge you because your slower life challenges the way they are living. Let them have their opinions. You do not need to prove your path to people who are not walking it. Your responsibility is to live in a way that does not separate you from your own peace. This requires listening inward instead of constantly looking sideways. Notice how comparison feels inside your body. It often creates tightness, urgency, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. It makes the present moment feel like an emergency. When this happens, pause and return to your breathing. Ask yourself, what is my next step, not their next step? This simple question can bring your attention back to your own path. Your next step may be working, resting, learning, asking for help, changing direction, or doing nothing until your mind becomes clearer. The correct step depends on your real condition, not on another person's appearance. Buddhist practice teaches us to see reality clearly. Reality is that you cannot become another person, live their exact life, or follow their exact timing. You can only care for the life that has been placed in your hands. Do not waste this life wishing it looked like someone else's. Your path may contain lessons and opportunities that would never appear if you copied another person's direction. Some delays protect you. Some failures redirect you. Some quiet seasons prepare you. Some doors remain closed because your life is moving toward something you cannot yet see. This does not mean every difficulty has a hidden reward. It means you do not have enough information to judge your entire life from one painful season. A chapter that feels slow may still be necessary for the story that comes later. Do not decide that your life is failing simply because it is not moving according to your plan. You are not behind in your own life. You are where you are, and this is the only place from which the next step can be taken. Accepting your present position does not mean remaining there forever. It means stopping the war against reality so you can use your energy wisely. Gains. When you stop saying, I should already be somewhere else, you can finally ask, what can I do from here? This question creates action without shame. You may discover that your pace becomes healthier when you stop trying to impress others. You work because the goal matters, not because you need applause. You rest because your body needs care, not because you have completely collapsed. Your life becomes quieter, but more honest. You begin choosing what supports you, instead of what only looks successful. One day, you may look back and realize that the season you once called a delay was actually teaching you patience, self-respect, and direction. You may see that moving slowly prevented you from building a life that never truly belonged to you. Do not break yourself trying to prove that you can keep up. The world will continue moving, but you do not have to chase everything it presents. Choose what matters. Release what does not. Let your life become deep instead of merely fast. Some days you will run with confidence. Some days you will walk carefully. Some days you may need to sit beside the road and breathe before continuing. None of these moments make you less worthy. Your value is not determined by your speed. Your path is not less meaningful because it takes longer. You are not failing because another person arrived first. Find the correct tension for your own life. Work without destroying yourself, rest without shame, and grow without using comparison as punishment. Your journey has its own rhythm, and peace begins when you stop fighting that rhythm. Release the need to keep up with everyone, and give yourself permission to move in a way that allows you to remain whole. 6. Sometimes, stopping is how you find your way again. When people become lost in a forest, fear often tells them to keep moving. They begin walking faster, changing direction again and again, and hoping that constant movement will somehow lead them back to safety. But every rushed step can take them farther away from the correct path. Experienced travelers understand that when you are deeply lost, the wisest action is often to stop, calm your breathing, observe your surroundings, and understand where you are before choosing another direction. The same thing happens in life. When you feel confused, exhausted, disappointed, or uncertain about your future, you may believe that you must act immediately. You feel pressure to fix your career, relationships, health, finances, family problems, and emotional pain all at once. You think that staying busy will protect you from falling behind, but movement without clarity can create more confusion. A tired mind does not always make wise decisions. When you are emotionally overwhelmed, you may choose whatever offers the fastest escape instead of what creates lasting peace. You may accept the wrong opportunity because you are afraid of having no opportunity. You may remain in an unhealthy relationship because loneliness feels frightening. You may continue following a goal that no longer matters simply because you have already spent years chasing it. Buddhism teaches that stillness is not weakness. It is a form of awareness. When you pause, you give yourself enough space to see what constant pressure was hiding. You begin to notice whether the direction you are following still belongs to you, or whether you are only continuing because other people expect it. Many people keep moving because stopping would force them to ask difficult questions. They may have to admit that they are unhappy, that a relationship is unhealthy, that a dream no longer feels meaningful, or that they have been living according to someone else's expectations. These truths can be painful, so staying busy feels easier. You may continue working, helping, planning, and achieving because silence makes you uncomfortable. The moment life becomes quiet, your real feelings begin to speak. You notice sadness that you have been avoiding, anger you never expressed, or tiredness you have been hiding behind discipline. Instead of listening, you create another task so you do not have to face what is happening inside you. But avoiding the truth does not remove it. It only delays the moment when you must finally deal with it. The longer you continue in the wrong direction, the more exhausted you become. You may eventually reach a destination and realize that it was never where you truly wanted to go. Buddhist awareness invites you to stop before this happens. It asks you to look honestly at your life without immediately judging yourself. You do not need to solve everything in one moment. You only need to see clearly enough to recognize what is creating suffering. Perhaps you are not tired because you lack strength. Perhaps you are tired because you are forcing yourself to live a life that no longer feels true. Perhaps your body is not asking you to give up. Perhaps it is asking you to change direction. There is a difference between being tired from meaningful effort and being tired from constant resistance. Meaningful effort may challenge you, but it still carries a sense of purpose. Constant resistance feels like dragging yourself through each day while your heart quietly asks why you are continuing. You may wake up with no energy, avoid responsibilities you once cared about, and feel irritated by everything around you. You may believe that you need more motivation, but sometimes motivation is not the real problem. Sometimes your exhaustion is showing you that something in your life needs to change. The world often tells you to push harder whenever you feel lost. It encourages you to work longer, wake up earlier, stay positive, and keep going. These ideas can be helpful when you are simply avoiding effort, but they can become harmful when the real issue is that you are walking in the wrong direction. If you are climbing the wrong mountain, moving faster will not bring you closer to the life you want. It will only take you farther away from yourself. Sometimes the most intelligent choice is not to increase your effort, but to question the direction of your effort. This requires courage, because stopping can make you feel as though you are failing. You may worry that other people will move ahead while you remain still. You may fear losing opportunities, disappointing your family, or appearing uncertain. But there is no wisdom in continuing a harmful path only because you are afraid of what others will think. The people judging your pause will not have to live with the consequences of your choices. They will not carry your exhaustion, regret, or emotional pain. You are the one who must wake up inside your life every day. Therefore, you must learn to listen to the quiet voice within you, even when the world is speaking loudly. Stopping does not mean abandoning everything permanently. It may simply mean taking enough distance to see clearly. When you are standing too close to a large painting, you can only see separate colors and shapes. You must step back to understand the complete picture. In the same way, when you are trapped inside daily pressure, you may not understand what is truly happening. Every problem feels urgent, every message feels important, and every responsibility feels impossible to release. A pause allows you to step back and see which things actually matter. You may discover that some of the pressure you carry is not truly yours. Perhaps you accepted responsibilities because you were afraid to disappoint someone. Perhaps you continued helping because you wanted to feel needed. Perhaps you stayed available because you feared that people would leave if you created boundaries. Over time, these choices can build a life filled with obligations, but empty of peace. You become so focused on meeting everyone's expectations that you lose contact with your own needs. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering. This includes attachment to approval, identity, success, and the image you want others to have of you. You may be attached to being seen as strong, helpful, productive, or successful. Because of this attachment, you keep going even when continuing is harming you. You may believe that if you stop, people will no longer respect you. But respect that depends on your constant exhaustion is not true respect. Love that disappears when you set a boundary is not secure love. A relationship that requires you to abandon yourself cannot offer real peace. A pause gives you the chance to see these patterns. It helps you separate what comes from love from what comes from fear. You may realize that many of your choices were not made freely. They were made to avoid guilt, judgment, rejection, or loneliness. Once you see this clearly, you can begin choosing differently. You can stop automatically saying yes. You can take time before making commitments. You can ask whether something supports your well-being or only protects someone else from disappointment. This kind of awareness does not appear when your mind is constantly rushing. A noisy mind reacts, but a quiet mind observes. Reaction says, "I must do something immediately." Observation says, "Let me understand what is happening before I act." Buddhist meditation teaches this difference. When a thought or emotion appears, you do not have to follow it immediately. You can notice fear without allowing fear to control your decision. You can notice urgency without treating everything as an emergency. This is important because many wrong decisions are made during emotional exhaustion. You may send a message you later regret, end something valuable because you are overwhelmed, or accept something harmful because you want quick relief. When you pause, you create a small space between the emotion and the action. In that space, wisdom becomes possible. You can ask whether the decision comes from clarity or from pain. Sometimes you need one night of proper sleep before answering. Sometimes you need a quiet walk, a few days of distance, or an honest conversation with someone you trust. Not every problem needs an immediate response. The modern world rewards speed, but speed is not always intelligence. Quick decisions can save time, but thoughtful decisions can save years. A slow choice made with awareness may protect you from a long period of regret. There is also a difference between stopping and becoming stuck. Stopping is a conscious pause that helps you understand your direction. Becoming stuck means remaining frozen by fear and refusing to take any step. Buddhist stillness is not about avoiding life. It is about preparing to enter life with greater clarity. A monk sitting in meditation may appear to be doing nothing, but inside, he is learning to observe the mind instead of being controlled by it. Your pause should also have awareness. You are not stopping so that you can hide forever. You are stopping so that you can listen, recover, and choose your next step more wisely. You may use this time to ask important questions. What is draining me most? What am I continuing only because I am afraid to stop? Which responsibilities belong to me, and which ones have I accepted from guilt? What kind of life am I trying to build? Does my current direction bring me closer to peace or farther from it? These questions may not produce immediate answers. Sometimes clarity arrives slowly. The mind may need time to settle before it can see clearly. Imagine a glass of water mixed with dirt. If you keep shaking the glass, the water remains cloudy. You cannot see through it, no matter how hard you stare. But when you place the glass down and stop touching it, the dirt slowly settles. The water becomes clear without force. Your mind works in a similar way. Constant thinking, reacting, comparing, and worrying keeps everything cloudy. You may believe that more thinking will solve the problem, but sometimes thinking becomes part of the problem. A quiet mind does not mean that all thoughts disappear. It means you stop chasing every thought. You let them come and go without treating each one as an instruction. This is where breathing becomes powerful. When you bring attention to your breath, you return to the present moment. You stop living inside imagined futures and repeated memories. You remind yourself that at this exact moment, you only need to take one breath. From this calmer place, your problems may still exist, but they no longer control your entire mind. You can look at them one at a time instead of feeling crushed by all of them together. Many people suffer because they mentally carry tomorrow, next month, and the next 10 years at the same time. They try to solve problems that have not happened and prepare for every possible failure. This makes the present moment feel unbearably heavy. Buddhism teaches that life is only ever experienced now. The past appears as memory, and the future appears as imagination. Your body is always here, but your mind may be living everywhere else. Stopping helps you return. It reminds you that you do not need to complete your entire life today. You only need to respond wisely to the moment in front of you. Perhaps today's step is not making a major decision. Perhaps it is sleeping, eating properly, taking a walk, or saying no to one unnecessary demand. These actions may appear small, but they can bring your mind back into balance. Clarity often grows from simple care. When you are hungry, exhausted, or overwhelmed, every problem appears larger. After rest, the same situation may feel more manageable. This does not mean rest will solve everything. It means rest helps you see what truly needs to be solved. You may discover that some problems disappear when your mind is calmer, while others become clear enough to face. A pause can also reveal which relationships are affecting your peace. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, you may not notice how differently you feel around certain people. Some relationships may leave you supported and understood, while others leave you anxious, confused, and emotionally empty. Distance can make these differences visible. When you step away, you may notice that your body feels calmer, your thoughts become clearer, and you no longer feel the need to defend yourself constantly. This does not mean you must remove everyone who causes discomfort. Relationships naturally include challenges, but repeated disrespect, manipulation, and emotional pressure should not be ignored simply because you are afraid of being alone. Buddhist compassion does not require self-destruction. You can care about someone and still recognize that closeness with them is harmful. You can wish them peace while choosing distance for yourself. Stopping gives you the courage to ask whether a relationship is based on mutual respect or on your constant sacrifice. It allows you to see whether you are loved for who you are or only for what you provide. You may also realize that some goals no longer belong to you. Perhaps you chose a career because your family expected it. Perhaps you chased money because you wanted respect. Perhaps you wanted success mainly to prove something to people who once doubted you. There is nothing wrong with ambition, but ambition built entirely on pain can become a prison. You may achieve more and more without ever feeling satisfied, because the real goal was not success. The real goal was to feel worthy. But no amount of external achievement can permanently heal an inner belief that says you are not enough. You may receive praise and still feel empty. You may reach one goal and immediately need another. A pause allows you to ask what you would choose if nobody were watching. What kind of work would feel meaningful? What kind of daily life would feel peaceful? What goals would remain if you no longer needed to impress anyone? The answers may surprise you. You may discover that you do not need a bigger life. You need a more honest one. You may not need more recognition. You need more time. You may not need to become someone new. You need to return to the person you were before constant pressure taught you to ignore yourself. Returning to yourself does not happen through one dramatic decision. It happens through small acts of honesty. You begin noticing when you are tired. You stop pretending to enjoy things that drain you. You speak more truthfully and make fewer choices based on fear. At first, this may disappoint people who benefited from the old version of you. They may call you distant or selfish because you are no longer endlessly available. But growth often looks selfish to people who were comfortable with your self-abandonment. You must decide whether you want to protect their comfort or protect your well-being. This does not mean becoming cruel. It means understanding that compassion without boundaries becomes exhaustion. Stopping also teaches you that not every opportunity is meant to be accepted. The fear of missing out can make you say yes to everything. You may believe that one closed door will ruin your future, so you continue adding more responsibilities. But every yes has a cost. When you say yes to one thing, you are often saying no to rest, family, health, focus, or another opportunity. Wisdom means understanding that your time and energy are limited. Buddhist simplicity teaches that peace often comes not from adding more, but from releasing what is unnecessary. You may not need a better schedule for carrying everything. You may need to stop carrying some things. Ask yourself which tasks truly matter, and which ones exist only because you are afraid to disappoint someone. Consider which goals support your values, and which ones only support your image. When you remove what is unnecessary, life becomes quieter. Your mind has more space to focus, breathe, and appreciate what remains. Some people fear quiet because they have built their identity around struggle. They are always solving, rescuing, and overcoming. Without a problem, they do not know who they are. If this is true for you, stopping may feel uncomfortable. You may create new problems simply because peace feels unfamiliar. Your nervous system may have become so used to stress that calmness feels wrong. Healing requires learning that peace is safe. At first, quiet moments may make you anxious. You may reach for your phone, search for work, or begin worrying about something. Be patient with yourself. Sit with the discomfort for a little longer. Remind yourself that nothing bad is happening simply because you are not busy. Your value is still present when you are doing nothing. Over time, your body begins to trust the pause. Your breathing slows, your thoughts become less urgent, and you remember how to exist without constantly performing. This is one of the deepest lessons of Buddhism. You do not need to become more worthy. You need to see through the belief that your worth depends on achievement. Beneath all the roles, goals, and expectations, there is a living being asking for understanding. Stillness helps you meet that being again. It allows you to notice your real fears, desires, and needs without immediately correcting them. You may discover that you have been tired for years, not only from work, but from pretending. Pretending to be happy, pretending not to care, pretending that disrespect did not hurt, and pretending that you were strong enough to carry everything alone. This kind of pretending requires enormous energy. When you finally stop, emotions may rise. You may cry, feel angry, or become deeply tired. Do not mistake this release for weakness. It may be the beginning of healing. Your body may finally feel safe enough to show you what it has been holding. Give yourself time. You do not need to understand every emotion immediately. Buddhist practice teaches us to observe without judgment. You can say, sadness is here, rather than, I should not be sad. You can say, fear is here, rather than, I am weak. This small change in language creates distance between you and the emotion. You recognize that emotions are experiences passing through you, not permanent definitions of who you are. When you stop fighting them, they often begin to move. An emotion that is allowed to exist may soften, while an emotion that is constantly rejected often becomes stronger. This is why stillness can be uncomfortable but powerful. It brings hidden things into awareness, and what becomes visible can finally be understood. There may be moments when stopping reveals that you need help. You may realize that your exhaustion is too heavy to carry alone. Asking for support can be part of wisdom. You may speak with a trusted friend, teacher, counselor, or someone who can listen without judgment. Buddhism values spiritual community because humans are not meant to walk every difficult path alone. Receiving help does not mean that you have failed. It means you are willing to use the support available to protect your life. Sometimes the next direction becomes clear through conversation. Other times it becomes clear through silence. Do not force an answer before it is ready. A seed does not grow faster because you keep digging into the soil. It needs time, stability, and the right conditions. Your clarity may also be developing beneath the surface. Trust that not knowing is sometimes part of the path. You do not always need a complete plan. You may only need enough understanding to take the next honest step. Life often becomes overwhelming because you demand certainty before moving. You want to know exactly what will happen, whether a choice will succeed, and whether you will regret it. But certainty is rarely available. Buddhism teaches impermanence, which means that all conditions change. No decision can guarantee a permanent result. Wisdom does not mean knowing the entire future. It means responding to the present with awareness, compassion, and the best understanding you have. After a pause, you may still feel uncertain, but the uncertainty may no longer control you. You can move carefully without needing every answer. Your next step may be small. It may be ending one unhealthy habit, creating one boundary, or giving yourself one quiet morning each week. Small changes can redirect an entire life. A ship may change its direction by only a few degrees, but over a long journey, that small adjustment leads to a completely different destination. You do not always need a dramatic transformation. You may need a small, honest correction. Stopping helps you notice which correction is needed. It allows you to choose based on truth instead of habit. Perhaps you have been running toward a future that promises peace, but requires you to sacrifice all peace in the present. Perhaps you have been waiting for the day when you will finally be allowed to rest. But life does not begin after everything is completed. Life is happening while you are working, worrying, and preparing. If you never stop to experience it, you may reach the end of your goals without remembering the journey. Buddhist mindfulness teaches you to return to simple things: the feeling of your breath, the taste of food, the warmth of sunlight, and the presence of someone you love. These moments may appear ordinary, but they are your actual life. Constant rushing turns life into a list of tasks. Stillness turns it back into an experience. You do not have to wait for a crisis before you pause. You can create regular moments of stillness before exhaustion takes control. Even 10 quiet minutes can change the quality of your day. Put your phone away, sit comfortably, and notice your breathing. Do not try to fix your thoughts. Let them pass. Ask yourself what your body is trying to tell you. You may notice tension in your shoulders, heaviness in your chest, or tiredness behind your eyes. These sensations are not inconveniences. They are information. Listen without immediately judging. Your body may be asking for sleep, food, movement, silence, or distance from something stressful. Small acts of listening prevent larger breakdowns. You do not need to wait until the container is completely broken before caring for the crack. As you practice stopping, you may begin seeing that some problems were created by your inability to pause. You said yes too quickly, reacted without thinking, and remained in situations long after they became harmful. Do not use this realization to punish yourself. Use it to become wiser. The past cannot be changed, but the pattern can be interrupted. The next time urgency appears, take one breath before responding. Ask whether the situation truly requires an immediate answer. Give yourself permission to say, "I need time to think." This simple sentence protects you from decisions made under pressure. People who respect you will understand. Those who become angry because you need time may be revealing that they benefited from your quick agreement. The pause becomes a boundary. It tells the world that access to your time, energy, and decisions is not automatic. Over time, you begin living with greater intention. You no longer move simply because everyone else is moving. You choose your direction. This is freedom. Freedom is not doing everything. It is knowing what not to do. It is being able to walk away from pressure that does not belong to you. Stopping may feel like losing time, but it can save years. A few weeks of reflection may prevent you from spending a decade in the wrong career. One honest pause may stop you from returning to a relationship that repeatedly breaks you. Time spent gaining clarity is not wasted. It is an investment in the direction of your life. There will be people who do not understand. They may tell you to hurry, decide, move on, or become productive again. Remember that their discomfort is not a command. Your healing and direction cannot be rushed to match someone else's timeline. You are allowed to move carefully. A wise traveler does not continue simply to prove that he can walk. He checks the map, studies the sky, and protects his energy. He understands that reaching the correct destination matters more than moving quickly. Treat your life with the same care. You do not need to impress anyone with how much pain you can tolerate. You need to build a life that does not require constant escape. When you stop, ask whether your current path supports the person you are becoming. Does it allow room for health, peace, honesty, and meaningful connection, or does it demand that you keep abandoning yourself? The answer may not be comfortable, but clarity is kinder than endless confusion. Once you see the truth, you can begin making changes. Do not expect every change to happen immediately. You may have responsibilities that cannot be left quickly. You may need time to plan, save money, communicate, or create support. Stopping does not always mean walking away today. It may mean no longer lying to yourself about what must eventually change. This honesty is the beginning of a new direction. Even before your outer life changes, your inner relationship with it begins changing. You stop believing that suffering must continue forever. Hope returns when you see that another path may exist. You may not know every detail, but you know no longer want to remain asleep inside your own life. Buddhism often speaks about awakening. Awakening is not only a spiritual idea, it can also mean waking up to the way you have been living. You recognize which habits create suffering and which actions create peace. This awakening often begins with a pause. You stop repeating the same pattern long enough to see it. You realize that you have been forcing yourself because you believed stopping meant failure. Now you understand that stopping can be wisdom. It can be the moment when you stop running from yourself and finally begin listening. You do not need more force when you are already exhausted. You may need more truth, space, and compassion. Allow yourself to pause before making the next important decision. Let your mind settle like muddy water. Let your body recover enough to communicate clearly. When the noise becomes quiet, you may notice that the answer was not absent. It was simply being covered by fear, pressure, and the voices of other people. Your own wisdom often speaks softly. You can only hear it when you stop creating constant noise. Trust the pause. It does not mean your life has ended. It means you are preparing to continue with greater awareness. Sometimes you must step away from the road before you can see where it leads. Sometimes you must stop carrying everything before you can feel which burden was never yours. Sometimes you must become still before the right direction becomes visible. You are not falling behind because you paused. You are protecting yourself from walking farther into a life that does not belong to you. Let stillness become your teacher. Let silence show you what pressure has been hiding. Let rest clear the confusion created by exhaustion. When you finally begin moving again, do not rush. Take one honest step, then another. A clear direction with slow progress is more powerful than fast movement without meaning. You may discover that stopping did not destroy your progress. It saved it. It gave you the strength to leave the wrong path, the awareness to choose a better one, and the compassion to continue without punishing yourself. Sometimes the bravest decision is not to keep going. Sometimes the bravest decision is to pause, breathe, and admit that you need a different way forward. You do not have to know the entire path today. You only need enough courage to stop walking in a direction that is destroying your peace. Remain still long enough to remember who you are, what matters to you, and what kind of life you truly want to create. Then move again, not because fear is pushing you, but because clarity is guiding you. Sometimes stopping is not the end of the journey. Sometimes stopping is the exact moment when your real journey finally begins. 7. You are allowed to heal slowly. A wounded tree does not repair itself in one night. After a powerful storm breaks its branches, the tree remains still. It does not feel ashamed because it cannot immediately grow new leaves. It does not compare itself with the healthy trees around it, or force damaged branches to become strong before they are ready. It simply receives sunlight, water, and time. Slowly, new life begins to appear in places that once looked completely broken. Your healing also needs time. You may understand what hurt you, accept that something has ended, and decide that you want to move forward, but this does not mean your emotions will immediately obey your decision. The mind may understand something long before the heart is ready to release it. You can know that a relationship was unhealthy and still miss the person. You can understand that the past cannot be changed and still feel sadness when you remember it. You can be grateful for your present life and still carry pain from what happened before. Many people become impatient with themselves because healing does not happen as quickly as they expected. They tell themselves that enough time has passed, that they should already feel better, or that they should stop thinking about what happened. Instead of offering kindness to the wounded part of themselves, they create another struggle by feeling ashamed of still being affected. This shame makes healing more difficult because now you are carrying two kinds of pain. You are carrying the original wound, and you are also carrying the belief that something is wrong with you because the wound has not disappeared. You begin punishing yourself for having normal human emotions. Buddhism teaches patience because everything changes according to causes and conditions. A flower opens when the soil, sunlight, water, and temperature are right. You cannot force it to bloom by pulling its petals apart. If you try, you will damage the flower you are trying to help. In the same way, you cannot force your heart to heal through pressure. You can create supportive conditions, but you cannot demand an immediate result. You can rest, speak honestly, create boundaries, meditate, ask for help, and step away from what harms you. These actions prepare the ground, but healing still unfolds according to its own rhythm. Sometimes you may have a few peaceful days and believe that the pain has finally ended. Then a memory, conversation, place, song, or familiar feeling brings everything back. Suddenly, you feel as if you have returned to the beginning. You may become disappointed and believe that all your progress was false. But healing is rarely a straight road. It often moves like waves. Some days the water is calm, while other days the waves return. The return of pain does not mean that you have lost all your progress. It may simply mean that another layer of the wound is ready to be felt and understood. Imagine walking up a mountain on a path that circles around it. As you climb, you may see the same side of the mountain many times. It can feel as though you are returning to the same place, but you are actually seeing it from a higher position. The view may look familiar, yet you are not where you were before. Your healing can work in the same way. You may experience the same sadness again, but you now understand it more clearly. You may remember the same betrayal, but you no longer blame yourself as deeply. You may face the same fear, but now you have better boundaries, more wisdom, and greater awareness. Do not judge your progress only by whether pain ever returns. Notice how you respond when it returns. Perhaps you no longer react as strongly. Perhaps you recover more quickly. Perhaps you speak to yourself with more compassion instead of falling into hatred. These are signs that healing is happening, even when the process is not complete. Many people believe that healing means never feeling sad, angry, or afraid again. But healing does not remove every difficult emotion from your life. It changes your relationship with those emotions. You begin understanding that sadness can be present without controlling your entire future. Anger can appear without turning you into a cruel person. Fear can visit without making every decision for you. Buddhist awareness teaches us to observe emotions as passing experiences. You can say, sadness is present, instead of saying, I will always be sad. You can notice fear without turning fear into your identity. This small difference creates space between you and what you are feeling. When you believe that you are the emotion, it feels permanent. When you recognize that you are experiencing the emotion, you remember that it can change. Everything that arises will eventually pass, even when it feels powerful in the moment. This does not mean you should ignore emotions or wait passively for them to disappear. Healing requires your participation. You must become willing to understand what the emotion is showing you. Sadness may reveal what you valued. Anger may show that someone crossed a boundary. Fear may point toward a place where you no longer feel safe. Your emotions carry information, but they should not become your rulers. Listen to their message, then decide how to respond with wisdom. You may need to grieve, speak honestly, create distance, forgive yourself, or release an expectation that continues causing pain. Sometimes healing is slow because the wound is connected to many older wounds. A painful rejection today may awaken memories of being ignored in childhood. A betrayal in one relationship may remind you of other people who broke your trust. A small criticism may hurt deeply because it touches an insecurity you have carried for years. You may think you are healing from one event, but you are actually healing from everything that event brought to the surface. This is why you should not judge yourself for taking longer than expected. The visible event may be recent, but the pain beneath it may be much older. Buddhism encourages us to look deeply rather than only reacting to the surface. If a person repeatedly becomes angry, the anger may be protecting sadness, fear, or feelings of worthlessness. If someone cannot rest, constant activity may be protecting them from painful memories. If a person keeps accepting disrespect, they may have learned long ago that love must be earned through suffering. Healing means gently discovering these deeper patterns. It means understanding why you respond the way you do without using that understanding as another reason to judge yourself. You did not create every wound inside you, but you now have the opportunity to care for them. This care begins with changing the way you speak to yourself. Many people have an inner voice that becomes cruel whenever they struggle. It says that they are too sensitive, too weak, too slow, or too difficult. This voice may sound like your own, but it may have been learned from people who did not understand your needs. Perhaps someone told you to stop crying when you needed comfort. Maybe you were expected to remain strong because other people depended on you. You may have been punished for expressing emotions or made to feel guilty whenever you needed help. Over time, you began repeating these messages to yourself. Now, whenever pain appears, you respond with the same harshness you once received. You tell yourself to be quiet, move on, and stop being weak. Healing requires replacing this voice with one that is honest but compassionate. Instead of saying, "I should be over this," you can say, "I am still healing, and I will be patient with myself." Instead of saying, "Why am I so weak?" you can ask, "What support do I need today?" This does not mean avoiding responsibility. Compassion is not the same as making excuses. You can recognize unhealthy behavior and still understand the pain behind it. You can admit that you made a mistake without believing that the mistake makes you worthless. Buddhist compassion includes wisdom. It tells the truth without cruelty. It says, "This behavior caused suffering, so I must change it," rather than saying, "I am a terrible person who can never improve." One creates growth, while the other creates hopelessness. You may also need to forgive yourself for the choices you made while you were hurting. Perhaps you stayed in a harmful relationship too long, trusted someone who did not deserve your trust, ignored warning signs, or abandoned your own needs to keep someone else happy. Looking back with your present wisdom, it may seem obvious what you should have done, but the person you were then did not have the same understanding you have now. You made decisions based on the information, fears, hopes, and emotional needs you carried at that time. Self-forgiveness does not mean pretending those choices were healthy. It means refusing to spend the rest of your life punishing yourself for not knowing what you know today. You can learn from the past without continuing to live inside it. Ask yourself what the experience taught you. Perhaps it taught you to recognize manipulation, create boundaries, trust slowly, or stop ignoring your intuition. When pain becomes wisdom, it no longer remains only pain. However, do not force yourself to find a positive lesson too quickly. Some experiences are deeply unfair, and telling yourself that everything happened for a reason may feel dishonest. You do not need to turn every wound into a beautiful story before you are ready. Sometimes the first stage of healing is simply admitting that something hurt, that it should not have happened, and that you deserved better. This truth can be enough for the moment. Meaning may arrive later. Healing slowly also means accepting that some days will be less productive. Emotional recovery uses energy. Your mind may be processing memories, rebuilding trust, and learning new ways of responding. This inner work may not be visible, but it can leave you deeply tired. You may judge yourself because you cannot work, focus, or socialize at the same level as before. But your energy has not disappeared without reason. Part of it is being used to repair your inner world. A house being rebuilt may look messy before it becomes safe again. Walls may need to be removed, damaged parts replaced, and old structures examined. During this process, the house does not look complete, but important work is happening. Your healing may also look messy. You may become uncertain about relationships, goals, or beliefs you once accepted without question. You may feel lonely after creating boundaries. You may miss people, even though you know distance is necessary. This confusion does not mean you are making the wrong choices. It may mean that your old life no longer fits, while your new life has not fully formed. You are standing between who you were and who you are becoming. This space can feel uncomfortable because familiar suffering often feels safer than unfamiliar peace. You may be tempted to return to people or habits that hurt you simply because you know what to expect there. The new path may feel lonely and uncertain. Buddhism teaches that attachment is not only attachment to pleasant things. We can also become attached to familiar pain, old identities, and repeated patterns. We may continue suffering because the suffering has become part of how we understand ourselves. Healing asks you to release these identities slowly. You may have believed that you are the person who always sacrifices, the person who must remain strong, or the person who is never chosen. These stories may have shaped your life for years, but a story repeated many times is not always the truth. It may simply be a pattern that once helped you survive. You can thank the old version of yourself for surviving without allowing that version to control your future. Perhaps being endlessly helpful once protected you from rejection. Perhaps hiding your feelings protected you from criticism. Perhaps staying alert protected you in an unpredictable environment. These behaviors may have been useful before, but they may now prevent peace. Healing does not require you to hate your old coping methods. It asks you to understand why they developed and gently replace them with healthier choices. You can learn that you are safe enough to say no, rest, ask for help, or express what you feel. This learning takes repetition. One peaceful moment may not convince a nervous system that has spent years expecting danger. You may need many safe experiences before your body begins to trust that it no longer has to remain constantly prepared for harm. Be patient with this process. Your mind may understand that the danger has passed, while your body still reacts as though it is present. You may feel anxious during peaceful moments, or suspicious when someone treats you kindly. Do not shame yourself for these reactions. Notice them and remind yourself that you are learning a new way of living. Healing is not only changing your thoughts, it is helping your entire body understand that it can release what it has been holding. Simple practices can support this process. Slow breathing, regular sleep, peaceful walks, quiet time, healthy food, meditation, honest conversation, and supportive relationships can all help your nervous system feel safer. These things may seem small compared with the size of your pain, but healing often comes through small, repeated acts of care. One good night of sleep may not transform everything, but many nights of proper rest can change the way your mind handles stress. One boundary may not remove every unhealthy pattern, but every boundary teaches you that your needs matter. One kind sentence toward yourself may not end self-criticism, but repeated kindness slowly creates a new inner voice. Do not underestimate quiet progress. The world celebrates dramatic transformations, but lasting change often happens privately. It happens when you choose not to return to someone who repeatedly hurt you. It happens when you rest, instead of forcing yourself through exhaustion. Healing happens when you stop explaining your boundaries to people committed to misunderstanding them. It happens when you recognize that someone else's behavior was not proof of your worth. It happens when you allow yourself to enjoy a peaceful moment without waiting for something bad to happen. These changes may be invisible to others, but they can completely transform your life. You do not need public recognition for your healing to be real. You do not need everyone to understand how far you have come. Sometimes the people around you will not understand why you are still tired or why certain situations continue affecting you. They may tell you that you think too much or that you should simply forget the past. People often become impatient with pain they do not have to carry. They see your behavior but not the memories, fear, or emotional weight beneath it. Their lack of understanding does not make your experience less real. You do not need permission from others to heal at your own pace. However, be careful not to use healing as a permanent hiding place. Moving slowly is different from refusing to move at all. There may come a time when fear tells you that you are not ready, even though you have enough strength to take a small step. Healing requires patience, but it also requires courage. You must learn to tell the difference between protecting yourself and remaining trapped. A wound needs rest, but eventually it also needs gentle movement. If you never use a healed leg again because you fear another injury, fear becomes another prison. In the same way, after emotional pain, you may eventually need to trust carefully, try again, or allow new experiences into your life. You do not need to take a large risk immediately. Begin with small steps. Share something minor with a trustworthy person. Try one new activity. Allow yourself to enjoy a moment without demanding certainty about the future. Each safe step teaches your mind that life contains more than what hurt you. The past may have shown you that some people are untrustworthy, but it does not prove that everyone will betray you. One failure does not mean every future attempt will fail. Healing slowly means respecting your fear without allowing it to decide the rest of your life. You can say, "I understand why I am afraid, but I will still take one careful step." Buddhist courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting with awareness, even when fear is present. You do not need to wait until every doubt disappears. You only need enough clarity to know that the next step supports your growth. As you move forward, release the expectation that you will return to exactly who you were before. Some people desperately want to become their old selves again. They want their old energy, trust, confidence, and innocence. But healing may not return you to the past. It may transform you into someone new. The old version of you may have tolerated things that the healed version will no longer accept. The old version may have trusted without boundaries or remained silent to keep peace. You may become more careful, more honest, and more protective of your energy. This does not mean pain has ruined you. It may mean that pain taught you what peace requires. The goal is not to become cold, suspicious, or closed. It is to combine kindness with wisdom. You can remain loving without giving everyone access to your deepest self. You can forgive while still remembering what the experience taught you. You can wish someone well without inviting them back into your life. You can release anger without pretending the harm was acceptable. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not always the same thing. Buddhist forgiveness is often about releasing the hatred that keeps another person living inside your mind. It is not permission for them to repeat the same behavior. It does not require you to remove every boundary. You may forgive slowly as well. Do not pressure yourself to forgive before you have fully acknowledged the pain. Forced forgiveness can become another way of silencing yourself. Begin by releasing the belief that carrying hatred will repair the past. Hatred often feels like protection, but over time, it keeps you emotionally connected to the person who hurt you. You continue replaying what happened and imagining different endings. Letting go does not happen through one decision. It happens each time you choose not to feed the same painful story. When the memory returns, you notice it without building your entire day around it. You may say, "This happened, it hurt me, and I am choosing not to let it control this moment." This does not deny the past. It protects the present. Healing also becomes easier when you stop demanding an apology, explanation, or understanding from the person who hurt you. You may believe that you cannot move forward until they admit what they did. But some people may never become honest enough to offer the closure you want. They may minimize your pain, change the story, or refuse responsibility. Waiting for them can keep your healing dependent on someone who has already shown that they cannot care for your emotions. Closure may need to come from your own understanding. You can recognize what happened without their agreement. You can believe your experience even if they deny it. You can say, "I know what this relationship did to me, and I do not need their permission to protect myself." This is not bitterness, it is clarity. The moment you stop begging someone to understand the pain they caused, you begin returning your power to yourself. You no longer need their awareness in order to choose peace. There will still be days when loneliness makes you question your boundaries. You may miss familiar conversations and remember only the good moments. The mind often becomes selective when we feel lonely. It may show you the laughter, but hide the disrespect. It may remind you of the promises, but not the repeated disappointments. During these moments, remember the complete truth. You can miss someone and still know that returning would be harmful. Missing a person does not always mean they belong in your life. It can simply mean that your heart is adjusting to their absence. Give yourself time to create new routines, relationships, and sources of peace. Empty spaces feel painful at first, but they are also where something healthier can eventually grow. Do not fill every empty space immediately. Loneliness can make you accept another unhealthy situation simply because it feels better than being alone. Learn to sit with yourself without treating solitude as punishment. Buddhist solitude is not rejection of the world. It is a chance to understand your own mind without constantly being influenced by other people. In silence, you begin noticing what you truly enjoy, value, and need. You may discover that you are not as empty as you believed. Beneath the noise, there is a person who has been waiting for your attention. You have spent years listening to everyone else, but healing asks you to listen to yourself. Ask what brings calmness rather than excitement followed by pain. Ask what kind of relationships allow you to remain honest. Ask what daily choices make your body feel safe. Your healing will become stronger when your life begins matching these answers. You cannot heal deeply while continuing to build a life that repeatedly ignores your needs. Sometimes this means making difficult changes. You may need to reduce your workload, leave an unhealthy environment, change your habits, or accept that a chapter of your life has ended. Change can be frightening because even painful situations provide familiarity. But remaining in the same suffering because change feels uncertain will not create healing. Move carefully, plan wisely, and ask for help when needed, but do not continue betraying yourself simply because the next path is unknown. You do not need to see the entire road before taking the first step. Healing slowly does not mean delaying necessary truth forever. It means giving yourself enough time and support to act from clarity rather than panic. As you heal, your definition of strength may change. You may once have believed that strength meant never crying, never asking for help, and always continuing. Now you may understand that strength also means resting, admitting pain, and creating boundaries. It takes strength to stop pretending. It takes courage to say, "I am not okay today," when the world expects you to smile. It takes wisdom to leave something familiar because it is damaging your peace. You do not need to prove your strength by suffering in silence. Pain does not become more meaningful because you carry it alone. Let trustworthy people support you. There may be moments when professional or emotional support is necessary. Seeking help does not mean Buddhism, meditation, or personal discipline has failed. Wisdom means using every healthy form of support available. A person with a broken bone may meditate, but they may also need medical care. In the same way, emotional pain may require rest, spiritual practice, honest conversation, and skilled guidance. These forms of care can work together. You deserve support before reaching complete collapse. You do not have to become completely broken before your struggle becomes serious enough to share. Remember that healing is not a competition. Another person may recover quickly from an experience that affects you deeply. Someone may return to work, relationships, or social life sooner than you do. Their pace says nothing about your worth. Every person has a different history, level of support, emotional sensitivity, and way of processing pain. Comparing healing timelines only adds pressure. The Buddhist path does not ask you to become someone else. It asks you to see your own experience clearly and respond with wisdom. Your path must respect the conditions of your life. Some days, wisdom will mean taking action. Other days, wisdom will mean resting. The same choice is not correct every day because conditions are always changing. This is why awareness matters. You must learn to ask, what do I truly need in this moment, rather than automatically forcing yourself to continue or automatically avoiding every challenge. The answer may be uncomfortable. You may need rest when your pride wants productivity, or you may need action when fear wants more delay. Compassion helps you hear the difference. Real compassion does not always tell you to remain comfortable. Sometimes it gently encourages you to take a step you have been avoiding. But it does so without hatred, shame, or threats. You can say, "I am afraid, but I believe I can try," rather than, "I am weak if I do not do this." The first creates courage, while the second creates pressure. As the months pass, you may begin noticing changes that once seemed impossible. You may wake up and realize that the first thing on your mind is no longer what hurt you. You may hear a familiar name without feeling the same pain. You may enter a situation that once frightened you and notice that your breathing remains calm. These moments may arrive quietly. There may be no dramatic announcement that you are healing. One day, you simply realize that you are carrying the memory differently. It is still part of your story, but it is no longer controlling every chapter. This is the beauty of slow healing. It often happens beneath awareness, just as roots grow underground. Every act of rest, honesty, and self-respect strengthens something inside you. Do not become so focused on the distance remaining that you ignore the distance already traveled. Think about the person you were when the pain first appeared. Notice what you understand now that you did not understand then. Perhaps you recognize warning signs faster. Perhaps you no longer chase people who repeatedly reject you. Perhaps you have learned that being alone is better than losing yourself in unhealthy company. These lessons are evidence of growth. You may still be tired, but you are no longer completely unaware. You may still feel pain, but you are beginning to protect yourself. Celebrate this quietly. You do not need to wait until you feel perfect before recognizing your progress. Perfection is not the goal. Greater peace, awareness, and freedom are enough. There may always be a small scar. A scar does not mean healing failed. It means the wound closed, but the experience left a mark. Some memories remain because they changed the way you understand life. You do not need to remove every mark from your history. You only need to stop reopening the wound. Let the scar remind you of what you survived and what you learned. Do not use it as proof that you are permanently damaged. A scar is stronger tissue formed after injury. In the same way, the places that were once hurt may eventually become sources of wisdom, compassion, and clearer boundaries. You may become more understanding toward tired people because you know what invisible exhaustion feels like. You may become gentler with those who are healing because you remember how painful impatience can be. Your suffering does not automatically make you wise, but the way you meet it can. When pain is faced with awareness, it can deepen your understanding of yourself and others. Buddhism teaches that suffering exists, but it also teaches that suffering can be understood and reduced. You are not condemned to remain inside the same pain forever. Everything changes. The emotion that feels endless will change. The season that feels dark will change. The person you are today will also change. Impermanence can feel frightening when life is beautiful, but it is comforting when life is painful. It reminds you that no difficult moment can remain exactly the same forever. Your job is not to force change. Your job is to stop blocking it through constant resistance, self-hatred, and attachment to old stories. Give life space to move through you. Rest when you need rest. Cry when tears come. Speak when silence becomes harmful, and become silent when endless explanation drains you. Let healing take the shape it needs. Do not demand that every day look peaceful. Some days healing may look like acceptance, while other days it may look like anger finally being expressed safely. Some days it may look like getting out of bed and completing one simple task. These small acts matter. A difficult day survived with compassion is part of healing. You do not need to achieve something impressive for the day to have value. When guilt tells you that you should be doing more, remember that recovery is also work. It may not produce money, praise, or visible results, but it is rebuilding the foundation of your life. A building with a damaged foundation cannot be made safe by adding more floors. In the same way, you cannot solve deep exhaustion by adding more goals. Sometimes you must strengthen what is beneath everything. This means restoring sleep, rebuilding self-trust, learning boundaries, and creating a life that does not constantly place you in survival mode. This foundation will support everything you do later. Without it, Success may collapse under the weight of unhealed pain. With it, even a simple life can feel deeply peaceful. Do not be ashamed of the season in which you are rebuilding. You are not wasting your life. You are learning how to live without continually abandoning yourself. You may not move as quickly as others, but speed is not the only measure of progress. A slow journey in the correct direction is wiser than a fast journey back toward the same suffering. One day, the energy you believe you have lost may begin returning, but it may return differently. You may no longer want to use all your energy proving yourself, pleasing people, or chasing every opportunity. You may become more selective. You will use your strength on what truly matters and protect it from what repeatedly drains you. This is not becoming lazy. It is becoming wise. Your healed self may not be the person who can carry everything. Your healed self may be the person who finally knows what should never be carried. Allow that person to emerge slowly. Do not rush the transformation. The deepest changes often require time because they are not only changing your actions, they are changing the beliefs beneath your actions. You are learning that love does not require self-destruction, worth does not require constant productivity, and strength does not require silence. These lessons must be practiced many times before they become natural. Be patient when you return to old habits. Awareness may come after the mistake at first. Later, you notice the pattern while it is happening. Eventually, you recognize it before it begins. This is how change develops. Do not call yourself a failure because you did not become different immediately. Every moment of awareness weakens the old pattern. When you fall back, return gently. Buddhism does not ask you to become perfect. It asks you to wake up again and again. Each time you notice that you are punishing yourself, you have another chance to choose compassion. Each time you notice that you are forcing yourself beyond your limits, pause and ask what fear is driving you. Perhaps you are afraid of falling behind, disappointing someone, or appearing weak. Listen to the fear, but do not let it control you. Remind yourself that destroying your health will not create lasting success. Your life deserves a pace that allows you to remain present inside it. You are allowed to heal slowly because healing is not a performance. You do not need to impress anyone with how quickly you recover. You do not need to hide difficult days to make others comfortable. The people who genuinely care about you will respect your process. Those who demand that you recover quickly may be more concerned with their comfort than your well-being. Let them misunderstand if necessary. Your responsibility is not to make your healing attractive or convenient. Your responsibility is to become honest, whole, and peaceful. You have forced yourself for long enough. You have walked while wounded, smiled while exhausted, and remained available while your inner world was asking for silence. Perhaps nobody recognized how hard you were trying. Perhaps people only noticed when you stopped doing what they expected. But you know what it took to survive those days. Now give yourself what you needed then. Offer patience to the tired mind, protection to the frightened heart, and rest to the body that has carried you through every difficult moment. You do not need to keep punishing yourself to prove that the past mattered. You do not need to remain broken to show how deeply you were hurt. Healing does not betray your suffering. Moving forward does not mean what happened was acceptable. It means you are no longer allowing it to take more of your life than it has already taken. Let the past become a teacher, not a permanent home. Carry its wisdom, but leave behind the endless self-blame, fear, and shame. The wounded tree does not spend its life looking at the broken branch. It continues sending roots deeper into the ground and reaching toward the light. The damage becomes part of its shape, but it does not become the end of its growth. You are also allowed to grow around what hurt you. You may carry scars, but you can still experience joy, connection, purpose, and peace. Do not demand that this growth happen overnight. Give yourself sunlight through kind thoughts, water through rest, and strong soil through healthy boundaries. Let time perform the work that force never could. Your healing is not late. You are not behind. You are not weak because your heart needs more time. You are a human being learning how to feel safe again after carrying too much for too long. This process deserves patience, not punishment. One day, you will recognize that slowing down did not ruin your life. It saved parts of you that constant pressure was slowly destroying. Rest helped you hear your truth, boundaries protected your peace, and patience allowed your heart to become strong without becoming hard. Until that day arrives, continue gently. Take the next step when you can, pause when you need to, and stop measuring your progress against anyone else. You do not need to heal beautifully. You only need to heal honestly. Some days will be peaceful, while others may feel confusing, but every day you choose not to abandon yourself is part of the path. Allow your healing to be slow, quiet, and real. A flower does not open because the world demands it. It opens when it is ready. You will also rise when you are ready, not because you were forced, rushed, or shamed, but because you were finally given enough safety, patience, and compassion to become whole again. You have spent enough time forcing yourself to continue when your body was asking for rest. You have pushed through exhaustion, hidden your emotions, ignored your limits, and treated tiredness as if it were a personal failure. You believed that stopping would make you weak, that slowing down would leave you behind, and that resting would disappoint the people who depended on you. But Buddhism teaches that true strength is not endless movement. True strength is awareness. It is knowing when effort is necessary and when effort has become harmful. It is understanding when to continue, when to change direction, and when to place the burden down before it destroys your peace. You are not a machine created to produce without stopping. You are a living person with a body that becomes tired, a mind that becomes overwhelmed, and a heart that needs time to recover. These limits do not make you weak, they make you human. Perhaps you have been living in survival mode for so long that peace now feels unfamiliar. You may have become used to solving problems, carrying responsibilities, and remaining available to everyone. Even when nothing urgent is happening, your mind continues searching for the next danger, the next task, or the next person who may need you. This constant alertness may once have helped you survive, but you do not have to live there forever. The difficult season may have trained you to remain strong, but healing will teach you how to feel safe again. You can appreciate the strength that carried you through the past without allowing that strength to become a prison. You are allowed to put down responsibilities that were never truly yours. You are allowed to say no without creating a long explanation. You are allowed to step away from relationships that repeatedly disturb your mind. You are allowed to disappoint people who only valued you when you ignored your own needs. Some people may not understand your boundaries because your exhaustion was convenient for them. They may call you selfish when you stop overgiving, or distant when you begin protecting your peace. Let them misunderstand. Another person's disappointment is not always proof that you are doing something wrong. You cannot heal while constantly returning to the same pressure that wounded you. Rest alone cannot protect you if you continue building a life that requires you to abandon yourself. Healing may require sleep and silence, but it may also require honesty, boundaries, support, and difficult changes. You may need to admit that something no longer belongs in your life. You may need to accept that a relationship, goal, habit, or identity has been draining you for longer than you wanted to admit. This truth may be uncomfortable, but clarity is kinder than endless suffering. Do not be afraid of moving slowly. A slow journey in the right direction is more meaningful than fast movement toward a life that does not bring you peace. You do not need to keep up with everyone, reach success at the same age, or heal according to another person's timeline. Your path has its own rhythm. Some days you will feel strong enough to move forward. Other days, your greatest act of wisdom will be resting, breathing, and completing only what is necessary. Both kinds of days are part of your life, and both can hold value. When exhaustion appears, do not immediately ask how you can force yourself through it. Ask what the exhaustion is trying to show you. Perhaps it is asking for sleep, space, support, or a different direction. Perhaps it is revealing that you have been carrying too much for too long. Listen before your body has to scream. Listen to the headaches, poor sleep, irritability, emotional numbness, and loss of joy. These signals are not enemies standing between you and success. They are messages trying to protect you from a deeper collapse. Discipline is important, but discipline without compassion becomes punishment. Goals matter, but no goal is worth losing your health, peace, or ability to feel alive. A successful life should not require you to become a stranger to yourself. Allow rest to become part of your progress. A field does not fail when it becomes quiet during winter. A tree does not apologize when it stops producing fruit. A river does not feel ashamed when its movement becomes slow. Nature understands cycles, and you are part of nature too. You do not need to earn rest by completely exhausting yourself. You do not need to suffer enough before your needs become valid. You deserve care before collapse, support before desperation, and compassion before you have proven anything. There may still be guilt when you slow down. That guilt may come from years of believing that your value depends on being useful. Do not automatically obey it. Observe it, and ask whether you have truly done something wrong, or whether you are simply breaking an old pattern. Not every uncomfortable feeling means you should return to the life that exhausted you. Sometimes discomfort is the feeling of growth. Sometimes guilt appears because you are finally choosing yourself after years of self-abandonment. Healing may happen more slowly than you expected. There may be peaceful days followed by difficult ones. A memory may return, your energy may decrease, or an old fear may suddenly appear again. This does not mean you are back at the beginning. Healing is not a straight road. It moves through layers. You may face the same feeling again, but you are facing it with greater awareness, stronger boundaries, and more compassion than before. That is progress, even when the pain has not completely disappeared. Do not punish yourself for needing more time. A wound does not heal because you are ashamed of having it. A flower does not open because someone demands it. Healing responds to safety, patience, honesty, and care. Give yourself those conditions. Sleep when you are tired. Speak when silence is harming you. Step away when closeness becomes destructive. Ask for help when the burden is too heavy. You were never meant to carry every difficulty alone. Receiving support does not make you weak. Even the strongest tree depends on soil, rain, and sunlight. Human beings also need connection, guidance, and care. Let trustworthy people stand beside you instead of always pretending that you can handle everything alone. You may have become known as the strong person, the person who never complains, or the person who always helps everyone else. But you are allowed to be more than that role. You are allowed to have needs, difficult days, and moments when you do not know what to do next. Your value remains, even when you are not solving a problem. Your life matters, even when you are not achieving, helping, producing, or proving anything. Beneath every responsibility and every role, there is still a human being worthy of kindness. Begin treating that person with respect. Stop speaking to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love. Replace the voice that says, "You should be doing more," with one that says, "You have carried enough for today." This does not mean giving up on growth. It means creating growth from self-respect rather than self-hatred. You can still work hard, remain disciplined, and build a meaningful life, but you do not have to destroy yourself while doing it. The Buddhist middle path teaches balance. It is neither endless forcing nor complete avoidance. It is wise effort, guided by awareness. Sometimes the middle path asks you to act courageously, and sometimes it asks you to become still. Learn to hear the difference. Fear may tell you to stop when a small step is possible, while exhaustion may tell you to rest when pride wants to continue. Awareness helps you recognize what the present moment truly requires. You will not always make the perfect choice. There will be times when you push too hard or avoid something important. Do not turn these mistakes into proof that you cannot change. Buddhist practice is the act of waking up again and again. Every time you notice that you are punishing yourself, you have another opportunity to choose compassion. Every time you recognize that you are carrying too much, you can place something down. Every time you catch yourself living in the future, you can return to one breath. These small moments create transformation. Healing does not always arrive through one dramatic decision. It often grows through ordinary acts of self-respect repeated over time. One day, you may notice that you no longer feel guilty for resting. You may realize that you can say no without explaining yourself for hours. You may wake up and discover that the first thought in your mind is no longer pressure. These changes may happen quietly, but they will show you that healing has been taking place beneath the surface. Like roots growing in darkness, your inner world may become stronger long before anyone can see it. Do not rush this process. You do not need to heal beautifully or impress anyone with how quickly you recover. You only need to heal honestly. Allow some days to be slow. Allow some questions to remain unanswered. Allow your body to recover before asking it to carry another heavy season. You are not falling behind by protecting your strength. You are preparing yourself to continue in a way that does not require constant suffering. Rest is not stealing time from your life. It is returning you to the life exhaustion prevented you from feeling. You may discover that the strongest version of you is not the person who carries everything. It is the person who finally understands what should be released. The wisest version of you may not be the one who keeps running. It may be the one who stops, looks around, and chooses a healthier direction. The healed version of you may not return to the old life with the same habits. That version may become more selective, more peaceful, and less willing to sacrifice everything for approval. Let that person emerge. Do not force them. Give them enough silence to hear their truth, and enough patience to build a different life. You have survived many days by pushing yourself, but survival is not the final goal. You also deserve peace, joy, connection, and the freedom to exist without constantly preparing for the next disaster. The danger may have passed. The storm may already be over. You do not have to continue holding your breath simply because you once needed to. Look around at the present moment. Feel the ground beneath you. Notice your breathing. Remind yourself that you are here, and for this moment, you do not need to solve your entire life. Take one breath without rushing toward the next task. Let your shoulders soften. Allow your mind to understand that rest is safe. You have done enough surviving. Now begin learning how to live without punishing yourself for being human. Do not force the wounded bird to fly before its wings are ready. Protect it, nourish it, and allow it to remain still. When its strength returns, it will rise naturally. You will also rise, not because you were threatened, shamed, or pushed beyond your limits, but because you were finally given the time, safety, and compassion required to heal. You cannot heal while forcing yourself to keep going. Sometimes healing begins at the exact moment you stop, breathe, and choose not to abandon yourself again.